Good evening. It being Tuesday, April 17th, 2018, a little bit after 7 o'clock, and I apologize. We'd like to call the special board meeting to order. Could everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Clerk Peter J. Lyons.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And may I have a roll call?
Assessor Moylan Cry.
Here.
Highway Commissioner Kazmierczak. Clerk Giovanna's here. Supervisor Morass.
Here.
Trustee Jones.
Here.
Trustee Caraboda. Trustee McKenzie.
Here.
Trustee Sweeney.
Here.
All right, and do we have any public participation at this
Apologize.
time? Hearing none. Our first order of business is appointing a Maine Township attorney. I sent, Dana had sent the board packets 2 weeks ago, I believe. With respect to the attorney, I am bringing forth to the board after Mr. Dowd's resignation of March 24th, 2018. And the proposed firm is Ansel Glink, Duggan Bush, DeCiani, and Reptile. You all have the proposals, and our representation would be done by Jeff Brown, by Carrie Lynn, both of whom are in the audience, and a third person who...
Kurt Asper, and he's actually at the village board meeting tonight, so we're going to be here.
Wonderful. And one of the reasons for having all three, which is fantastic, is Jeff Brown would be the person who would be coming to our board meetings, but for any emergency or if was unable to do it, then we would have a second person, and Carrie Lynn is the name partner and the equity partner and in charge of all of it. As most of you will recall, in February, I believe it was, possibly January, we had requested to hire an attorney for purposes of redoing the personnel manual. And this is the firm that we hired, and Jeff and Carrie Lynn did an astounding job, which will be presented to you at the April 24th board meeting. It is complete. And I know that the highway department uses Ansel Glink, correct?
Yeah, I've used Jeff Brown, well, been there approximately 18, 19 months, and I've used him 3 times over personnel issues, and found him to be competent and punctual and doing a good job.
And I would like to point out that Carrie Lynn and Ansel Glink are the authors of the book on township government. The Bible, which I will go get, the Laws and Duties, which is something I live by. The Township Officials of Illinois Laws and Duties Handbook, as well as providing many of the educational opportunities at the Township Officials of Illinois meetings and elsewhere. Jeff Brown has written extensively on township matters. They represent numerous townships. Perhaps Carrie Lynn, you wanted to stand up and tell us a little something about how many townships you represent?
Yeah, we represent about 50 townships in our districts for different, and in different degrees depending on what they need. Some talk to us all the time, some we just hear from a couple times a year. So whatever they need. I myself am a recovering township trustee. So I feel your pain.
What township?
York Township, which is in DuPage County, so
Yes.
Oak Brook, Villa Park, Elmhurst, that area.
Wonderful. I like that recovery. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to appoint Ansel Blink via Carrie Lynn Krauthoffer. I am always going to mangle this.
This call me Gary Lynn.
Carrie Lynn, Jeff Brown, and Kurt as the township attorneys at the stated rate that is listed in this agreement, that all work by Carrie Lynn and Jeff Brown are billed at $200 an hour, work by the other associates $150 an hour, and paralegals and law clerks $95 an hour. These are very competitive rates, extremely competitive. I would ask for that motion.
Prior to making that motion, I would like to make a motion before voting on that. I would like to make a motion to defer the decision that I and my fellow board members, so that we can fully consider the merits of the supervisor's, your recommendations, Laura, as well as other options available to the board for the hiring of the general counsel, so that we can ensure that we're providing the best legal representation at the best value for our taxpayers.
I would say.
Well, I'm sorry, that motion is out of order because there's a current motion pending that I was about to make, and I would like to state that hiring a township attorney has to be done within as expeditious amount of time as possible. And we are encountering various legal matters as well as entering into our budget time and passing our budget, and have many items coming up on the April agenda. So I see no reason. I did give this earlier than I had. I gave it with a lot of notice, at least 2, possibly 3 weeks ago. Nobody asked a question. Nobody asked to speak to them. Nobody asked to do any of that. So,
I think through the process, we've looked at other boards and different processes that people have looked at in different townships as well as governmental units, and for best practices, and consider something like a process by which we look, whether it's RFP or something else, that we look at process and how we would choose that and define it.
we did do an RFP.
That would be, you did do an RFP?
Yes, these were the only firm that applied. We did do an RFP.
As a trustee, I was not part of the process to see an RFP that had been done.
But it was an RFP that included the specifications that were in everything that we have used a township attorney for. It was the same RFP that was done, and it's not a requirement, by the way, to do an RFP. But it was the same RFP that was done for personnel, hiring that, and we did many considerations, but availability and speed of time of answering questions, I have never seen two people more responsive in terms of when we worked on the personnel manual. And I know, Susan, coming from you, this is a little bit taken me aback, because in the past at various board meetings you have spoken very glowingly of Carrie Lynn and of having talked to her at various times about best practices and things like that last summer, and or at least you said that you had talked to Ansel Blink, and Ansel Blink also represents Park Ridge, a different partner or associate partner. I see no reason whatsoever, and I think it's very detrimental to the township to defer this. So I'm going to make the motion to appoint them as our attorneys.
Are you going to consider the motion that I
No, because I
Presented?
still have a motion on the
Called vote
table.
on?
I still have a motion on the table. So under Robert's rules, we need to consider this motion first.
So under Robert's rules, you're saying we can't consider the motion that I asked to be considered prior to making the motion to hire an attorney?
No,
I mean, we were open to discussion, can't
But
trustees
you-
ask for a discussion?
yes, you can have a discussion after a motion and a second is made. That's when discussion is. And that's when, if you want to discuss having an account, that's the appropriate
Okay.
time for discussion. But the discussion is after a motion, just like we do on every vote. When we ask agency funding, the motion and the second does not indicate that you are voting for it. It's merely making a motion so that we can start discussion. So I will make the motion to appoint Ansel Blink as the township attorney.
Second.
Having a motion and second, now, is there any discussion?
Well, I think I made the point that based on best practices,
And what best practices
transparency
are you?
and openness,
I'm
that we would consider and look at the process so that we'd all feel comfortable in knowing that we're getting the best value for the services that are being provided.
And what does that mean? I don't know, what are you
It means
considering to be
defining-
best
It
practice?
means defining the process, not just.
And what
one-
process?
Not just bringing one firm forward. So it would mean, as you had said, that there was an RFP. I was unaware of that.
But Susan, I'm sorry, trustee
did that
Sweeney,
help?
it's my job, no, it's my job as the supervisor, as I stated in March. It's my job and my sole job to bring an attorney to be appointed. So
And I
whatever
appreciate that.
process.
And it's not anything against the attorney that you're bringing.
No, I
forward.
think
about
it's
the
against the
And-
process.
And
There's
I
nothing
understand that you
underhanded.
appoint with our consent and approval,
Mhm.
and I think there'd be a greater comfort level if we were to look at other attorneys.
I've had no other applicants.
Is there somebody you have in
Right,
mind?
who are you
trustee Sweeney?
thinking of?
I mean, I've been in the process of looking and talking to various, to try to understand what's involved in all this. So
Bill?
there's a lot of different
Well, who have you been talking to?
townships and attorneys, and,
Who?
I mean,
I mean, in the scheme, or to be transparent, who have you been talking to?
well, I don't,
Behind our backs.
I don't think that I want to limit people. I would want,
But
I
who
mean, I
have
would
you been
assume that there'd
talking
be
to?
more people that.
Well, that's not
There is-
transparent, saying let's
Sorry,
more
I'm
people.
sorry,
and-
I just wanted to know who has the floor. and I'm gonna-
Right now, I believe that everybody's talking out of order, so does anybody wish to be recognized?
I would like to be recognized.
Clerk Gillens.
The only thing I would have to say is being on this township board for 10 years and attending many toy and different educational sessions, I've come to know Carrie Lynn and their firm. They are the premier firm for handling township government. And I can't see where we're going to be getting somebody with more knowledge or more expertise in the area. So I don't know exactly who we're looking at, but again, these rates are very reasonable compared to others that I've seen around. So to me, I think we're just being trivial to say that we need more time to find somebody else, because you've got the cream of the crop right here. That's my opinion.
Also, I would point out that Mr. Dowd's fee was $195 an hour. So this is certainly the same. Carrie Lynn is $5 more. And honestly, I don't believe that this township should, and it's certainly not best practice to go another meeting or another month without an attorney. I think that's actually doing the residents a huge disservice. As I said, it was sent to you guys at your request, trustee Sweeney. You had asked me numerous times on email, and I sent it to you. I made no secret that, based on their work as our personnel attorney, they had done an excellent job based on their work for Wally, and based on the fact that really, honestly, there is no other, nobody, like Pete said, I can't echo enough, that they are the cream of the crop, and cost-wise, they are very, very cost-effective. For civil matters, I charge way more than this. And I'm sure other attorneys on the board also do. So I am not sure what the issue or what you are calling best practices. It does not strike me that it is best practice to be without a township attorney.
And it's my understanding that the only one who can,
I'm sorry, but just to say, where's the floor here?
okay,
Trustee, I'm sorry, I will recognize Highway Commissioner Casper.
okay, all I wanted to say was that it's my understanding that the supervisor is the only person in this room who can make a nomination for a township attorney. So, there's no prior input or suggestions by anybody else. This thing has been going on for minimum 4 weeks, or 3 weeks since we knew that Dowd was quitting. It seems to me that people are being contrary for being contrary sake. It doesn't, I don't understand what the problem is. We do have a tremendous wealth of talent within that law firm. They've literally written the book on township government, and I'm a little confused as to what end is this, what purpose? Can you get a better rate? Can you get a better lawyer? But that's not even the board, aside from the supervisor's jurisdiction. It's not the entire board's decision except to vote up and down on the particular person that she suggests take over those duties. So I'm a little confused, that's all, as to what end is this working out towards. What's the purpose of this, especially when there's no feedback prior to this that there's a problem.
Trustee McKenzie.
I'm the chair of the hiring department at my law firm. And when we make a decision like this for professional services or hiring a professional, we receive various input. So we receive cover letters, resumes, transcripts if we're hiring an attorney to work for us, or we receive a CV, or, so it's usually not just one law firm that's proposed, and we usually have a committee. Like, I thought tonight was going to be for us to discuss who you first proposed and maybe other proposals. I've never been in a situation where you have one or done.
Okay, so I can't imagine how you thought that when an email was sent to all of you saying, and citing the code of the township official of the laws and duties, that the township supervisor brings you the name of an attorney, period. And that you do have their CVs, their biographies, all of it was sent to you. Every single thing was sent to you, their bibliographies, and I think it's a bit, disingenuous that nobody asked anything, and or asked, is there any other, I have a suggestion, I have a name. Because at the end of the day, you guys know I have to bring it to you. But nobody had any input. So you agreed to the special board meeting agenda. Let's not forget that was a unanimous vote. It could be no misunderstanding that it was for me to bring a name that I was requesting to appoint.
Yes, as soon as you're done, I will continue.
Well, I know I said that, and that's what is
I'm not
on the
disputing
agenda.
that you get to appoint and bring and all of that. I'm just saying, I think what trustee Sweeney is saying with best practices is that usually in best practices, you're choosing amongst a few and not just one. And I thought tonight was to discuss how we were gonna choose and what we were gonna do if we had questions. It doesn't say vote.
And regardless if you,
Yes, it actually does, appointing, appointing. That is
You
a
get
vote.
to appoint, we get to vote.
Okay. That is absolutely, that is absolutely, yes, I appoint with advice and consent. That is, so the best practices was all, when we looked for a personnel,
Can I say something? As you're the chair of this board, I think that you need to let everybody know that it's rude to make faces and comments when we're all
I'm sorry,
trying to listen.
what are we talking about?
I'm
We're
talking
talking
about
about
this phrase
people,
laughing
yes,
Okay,
and clerk, making faces, and
earlier. It's got to stop.
you mean like when
really
you have
not
people
respectful.
participation in the audience? and
Okay.
they
Yes.
get
Yes.
some-
all right, guys,
No,
We're the board.
guys. This is one of the reasons that I think it is really late in the day. Like, I'm not going to be bringing you another person, because
It's a vote on.
we did, what, can you articulate what, other than you
You call the
think?
vote. I asked for my motion to be brought forward, as I understand it, you're not willing to consider that to delay, to
Wait,
defer.
how long do you
And
want to
so-
delay this?
I would like to have it on the next board meeting,
In
so
April?
whereby we have a process.
When, what,
And we
but
consider,
what
I don't
process?
know how you can't consider that as being inclusive of the trustees as well.
That's what we're
Understanding
here
that
for
you get to.
Why do we have this
understanding that you
meeting?
get to
What is
know.
this purpose
I
of this
understand
meeting?
What is the purpose of any meeting? So that we can discuss things. That's the purpose.
Okay.
When I worked for IBM, we had three.
But we are not,
Please.
okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna call that up. Or can we stick to the topic? We are not IBM. We are not Schiller, Ducanto, and Flat. We are a township. This does not have to be the hugest, it's a big step. Yes, hiring an attorney. We can discuss the parameters of what you want the attorney to do, but that's a different issue. It's inconceivable that all of you were not on full notice that I was seeking to appoint with advice and consent these attorneys. When we went through the personnel manual process, I had, at that time, I believe, 3 or 4, there was the audit process, which is completely different than the township attorney, but I want to point out that with that process, we had 3, and there was 1 that did actual townships. We have the extraordinary good fortune to have these people, the cream of the crop, available at such a competitive rate. So I am not quite understanding what is going to be accomplished in a week. I recognize trustee Kim Jones.
Well, Trustee Sweeney, you made the comment that you've been calling around to townships and emailing people, but in the interest of transparency, you haven't shared that with us. You may have shared it with your other 2 trustees because you 3 always
Oh, my
communicate,
goodness, I'm gonna check
but you
that.
haven't shared
We're
it with
not.
us, so what,
I think the
where's
point-
your
I think
transparency?
the point-
Wait,
I'm
excuse me.
sorry, can we?
You've
Try
had
to do
3
this one at a
weeks,
time.
and yet there's been not a peep from any one of you. And then this goes to the pattern of the grandstanding that we do every month and every issue. It's like you have nothing to say until you come here and you try to just throw everything up in arms. Without, I think you owed us the transparency of knowing that you were going around calling people, interviewing people, whatever these best practices you're referring to, which none of us know what they are, seems awfully opaque on your part.
And yet you're talking about transparency, but you've not shared any transparency with the rest of the board. So
The
the only
transparency.
one who's being opaque is you. I'm done.
What, I have a question for trustee Sweet. What is it that is going to happen in 1 week?
I think it'll give us some time to consider what we want for the process.
I'm sorry, I really
still
am not trying to be dense. I don't know what
Okay.
that means.
Well,
Whether
can
we
you
call
share
that
your
just
emails with
agreeing
us?
on something, like an RFP,
No, because
Or-
I don't have to do an RFP. We did that for the personnel. I want to make it clear, I think I misspoke. We did not do an RFP for the township attorney because I appoint with advice and consent. And so,
you did not do that.
no. However, it was well known, I mean, we did let it be known that we were looking for, we did not do a formal RFP, if you will. There is no need to do that. We had an attorney who worked like an unbelievable cost for a personnel manual that did a phenomenal job. So it really seems to be, again, a little bit of grandstanding, but somewhat directed at, the fact that this is a power of the supervisor. I didn't make the township code. And so we can go for 6 months, with me proposing an attorney and you guys voting it down. And the net result is going to be terrible for our residents. And I still have not heard an objection to the qualifications of Anselm. Trustee McKenzie.
Well, my read of the materials that you sent, I believe it's Mr. Brown, is a labor and employment lawyer. He is not a township attorney. So there's one objection.
Well, first of all, I think Mr. Brown can answer that, but he would be a little shocked to hear that he is not a township attorney, considering that he is a partner in handling, how many townships?
We represent, about 40 or 50 townships and road districts.
Right, so that may be his previous specialty, and the specialty that's in his biography. Jeff Brown also wrote an incredible law review, Chicago-Kent FOIA article. So he is a recognized leading expert in FOIA issues, which I think is a really important thing to, and he has the article with him. But so,
And if there is a concern about Jeff attending your meetings instead of me, the reason why we listed him is I have 2 other municipalities that meet that night, but we do have backups that I could send to those municipalities if you need me to attend here.
I do not find any, in redoing a personnel manual for a township, Jeff was very familiar with township law, township issues, and I really don't, I'm trying to get a sense, Trustee Jones.
Can I just ask Jeff Brown a question? Are you a township attorney?
I've represented townships in various matters. Indeed, my bio is written in a way that shows I do a lot of labor and employment work, and that is absolutely true. I have served as a general counsel for a university, handling a wide variety of matters, anything ranging from animal rights to First Amendment law to FOIA. I served as a FOIA officer as well as an ethics officer for the university. I handle a wide array of collective bargaining matters. I have worked with the Cook County Board during my time at Cook County. I worked with Alderman in the city of Chicago, as well as the Board of Trustees of the university that I represented. I bring to the table what I would say is a wealth of experience in a wide array of legal matters. I have worked most recently, I do quite a bit of labor employment law. That is something that I've carved out a little bit of niche in, but Ansel Blink is a firm that has over 85 years of history in Illinois. And I work closely with Carrie Lynn, as well as other attorneys such as Stuart Diamond, Dirk Price, on, again, a wide array of legal matters that relate to townships, municipalities, private clients. So I think what you're looking at here is not just me as an attorney, but Carrie Lynn, Kurt Askeruth, as well as a law firm that brings tradition and excellence. And we've been doing that for over 85 years, representing townships and municipalities. So I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have, but I think we're well suited and well positioned to provide legal advice and representation to the board. I think we do that very well for you.
I understand that you were involved with the personnel issue you had last week, and that you did an outstanding job, and that your counsel was very much appreciated by Administrator Dana and the supervisor, so I want to thank you for that. And I think that FOIA labor laws, that just was last week, where you counseled us on a labor law issue. And FOIAs, we all know we have lots of those. So I think that the wealth and the depth and breadth of your experience on a wide-ranging areas, governmentally, labor, FOIA, would be a great addition to our township.
I do want to echo that I think instead of a negative, I think it's a tremendous positive that Mr. Brown has a niche that he carved out as representing the government bodies and labor and personnel issues. That's actually a plus. And also the FOIA niche, which is a huge plus. I'm looking at quality, and I think that doing without, first of all, I want to also point out that our prior attorney was a real estate attorney. And was hired by this board with nary a question. So I didn't cause him to resign, and we are in this position.
Well, I think that's part of it.
Trustee Sweeney.
When I think about that, he's been here over 20 years and was a real estate attorney, and we never had questioned or done any kind of a process to go out for RFP or bid and consider others is one of the things that, and reasons why I think we should be really open, because we've felt some of the struggles that we have, that we'd like to make sure we're making the best decision for all of us.
Again, these are the people that wrote the book, that you received the training. So while I appreciate your point, the board had been served by Dan Dowd. There was no, as I said, that vote had been unanimous by this board, and with just a little bit of a tweak, I think, on the compensation cost. And so I cannot fathom in the next week. Again, I need to emphasize that I don't intend to go out to bid. This is not something for which this is done. This is a professional service, and we have been extremely transparent. You asked me, well in advance, so that you guys could consider. I gave it well in advance, in good faith, and I think to wait and allow a special meeting to be set for the purpose of doing this, I don't know what's going to happen in a week, because, again, I have to bring the person to you. I'm not going to bring you the second best or the third best. these are the best. You're getting the benefit of the best at a cost that is $150 cheaper than I charge for a civil case, and well cheaper than any downtown law firm charges. So if we're looking at what is best for our township and trying to unify our township into having attorneys that can advise and help this board with future labor, personnel, FOIA, and any other issue that has been cropping up, I really can't emphasize enough that I think it does the residents a disservice to wait even another week. We have so many issues this coming week. I mean, I can't operate without an attorney. I can't.
You have the floor.
Yes, I will recognize you, Trustee Kirby.
Went through a very horrible experience with our prior attorney. In that, and explanations came out through his interview with the press, which suggested why that was. And that is that he put what he considered to be personal relationships above and beyond what his duties were, in my opinion, to the board. He represented to the board that he was going to do what the board wanted to do. He sat here in front of me and said he was going to do it. We passed resolutions for this action. The time period was coming up where we have a deadline. We ended up having, then at the last minute, he's flying to California, he's not going to do it yourself. We had to end up doing it ourselves to try to preserve the time limit. And he was also conducted himself, in my opinion, with other board members, communicating with other board members, which was wholly inappropriate, although he did apologize for that, and I appreciated that. It was a shock to me how he conducted himself. It was very surprising, but extremely disappointing. Now we have a situation where we're called upon for another attorney. I was told that there was an RFP. I was told there was going to be a special meeting. I was told that there was going to be presentments. What happens is, though, there's a misspoke. There was not an RFP.
I'm sorry,
And
Dave,
the question
I never
is,
said there was
I don't
an
want to be interrupted. There's a question about as to whether or not there should be an RFP. All I see here is the supervisor presenting one law firm with 75,000 lawyers in Cook County. It's the only law firm that would reply, was what we were just told on the record, but maybe that was in the statement of oops too.
Okay,
So what I'm seeing here is that there's a presentment of one law firm and they want to take it or leave it. The process that I believe is being suggested is that we come to an agreement. We have law firms that present along with this law firm, and let's see what we come to an agreement as to who we want to use, looking at various firms, looking at the various.
So
I was disappointed that we have only one law firm here. That's
Okay.
my big disappointment.
I'm sorry that I followed the law.
I wasn't done yet.
I am going to rule you done because
Okay.
it's yet another opportunity
I don't
to
waive what-
grandstand.
what
Well, I
says-
don't think it's
It's
appropriate
fair to call it grandstanding.
to talk about Dan down and do that type of character besmirchment when the gentleman's not here. None of us were privy to any of the communications you're discussing. So what I said at the board meeting was that I was going to bring you an attorney. I did not promise an RFP. I misspoke earlier tonight. And when you got the email, there was nothing in there that said we did an RFP, nothing. So that is a misrepresentation, and I would like the record to be clear. There is absolutely no requirement of that. And again, it's inconceivable. You guys keep talking about a process while ignoring what's best for residents. So Trustee Sweeney said she wants to table it until the next board meeting. I am asking a direct question as to what it is that you do. I'll ask it individually so we don't have interruptions. Trustee Sweeney, what do you propose is going to happen with respect to before the next board meeting?
I think we should have something on the agenda for the next board meeting that actually says that we're going to vote on agreeing.
That's your objection?
Tonight.
That it says appointing, not
You
vote?
didn't let her finish.
I thought she was finished. Is that, I'm sorry, are you, Trustee McKenzie, please, I'm having a conversation with Trustee Sweeney right now. Trustee Sweeney, so your objection, I'm clear, is that it didn't say vote?
No,
Okay.
that's not my objection.
What else do you
She
perceive?
said it's not her objection.
I'm trying to figure out, okay, so assuming we have it on
I had
April.
said, I will say it again, but it's openness, it's best practice, it's giving the taxpayers an opportunity to participate in this process and see. Are we laughing?
No, I
Jim
didn't
Jones is
laugh.
laughing.
Yeah.
That's so irritating, it's just so disappointing.
Okay, I'm really, guys, this is incredible.
Why don't you call a vote then, Laura?
Donna's here, Jennifer's here. We had noticed, everybody had noticed that we were appointing an attorney. I'm asking if you table it until the next board meeting, are you
What's
I will
gonna
make a
change?
What's
motion
gonna
again, to be
change?
clear, if I make a motion to defer this decision so that I and my fellow board members can fully consider the merits of both the supervisor's recommendations and other options available to the board for the hiring of the general counsel, so as to provide the best legal representation at the best service and value for the taxpayer.
So, the problem is that the only thing that is to be considered is the merits of these people that I have brought forth. And if you need to table it, to have another week to consider that, talk to them, discuss. You keep talking about other attorneys, yet none of you have felt it necessary to send me anybody's name. And I don't know why I would put forth the second best or the third best when I have a resource. And by the way, I do want it clear that I had absolutely no personal connection to either of these. I have worked with Jeff on the personnel manual as of March 1st. So I've known him for all of a month. And I met Carrie Lynn today for the very first time in my entire life. So I have no personal stake. I am suggesting the appointment of what I am bringing forth, as is the township supervisor's job. And the board actually cannot put into place an RFP or any of that. It really does have to get appointed, and you can email. You could have done that. I would have welcomed, not being sandbagged at a meeting where it had clearly been contemplated that we were going to present this law firm, who you've spoken of glowingly in the past, as have all three of you. And I again, fail to see how it services the residents to be without an attorney, especially given that the April agenda has numerous things on it that could and should, for the best practices handling of those matters, have an attorney's input, as well as we received 3 FOIA, all of which I would like an attorney's input. And I'm not going to act as the township attorney. So, every day we go without a township attorney, this board is liable for things that I can't control, because I am not a township attorney. I am a criminal defense attorney. And as Kim pointed out, you speak of best practices, you speak of transparency, yet are completely unwilling to provide any names of anybody that you've spoken to and have no objections to anything that these attorneys have in, I understand Trustee McKenzie had that question. So if you want a week to vote on it, if you're all gonna vote against it tonight, of course I'm gonna wait a week. But I'm not getting to next week, and I don't know what is going to change. That's what I'm trying to get a sense of.
Can I ask a question?
Trustee McKenzie, absolutely.
Do you represent any townships right now?
Our firm does.
No, I'm asking about you personally.
But we're hiring all.
I'm asking the question.
None of us do, right? It's our law
Right.
firm represents, I mean,
So you don't represent any townships yourself either?
Well, the townships appoint our law firm, and then we represent.
I'm a lawyer too, and in my firm, clients, they hire me and my firm. But the face of the firm is a lawyer. So I'm asking, are you the primary lawyer on any township matters in your firm?
I work on a number of township issues, but am I the attorney that serves in the township board? The answer is no.
That was my question.
Anybody else? Trustee Jones.
Carrie say that she'd be willing to come to the township meetings. Did you say that?
Yes.
Yeah, that you would rearrange your schedule, so that eliminates that objection then.
I don't know if Trustee McKenzie heard you or you heard Carrie Lynn. Did you hear?
Did you hear her?
That Karen Lynn would be available to come to the
The
meetings.
township meetings.
But I'm interested in who's representing our township.
If you want me to represent the township, if you have a concern with Jeff, I'm happy to.
But it's a group of three, so that one of the problems we started having with Dowd, and Mertz was when Mr. Dowd could not be present, we always had another partner or associate in his firm. And that person stopped. And it seems back when I was a trustee, but we did not know that. And so I think that in the interest, again, of the best representation at the lowest cost for the residents and the taxpayer, having a group of three, each specializing in their various parts that all benefit townships, representing 85, I believe you said, across the state. Trustee Jones.
Wait a minute.
I'm done.
So I have a question. So have you ever come up against a question similar to Trustee McKenzie's or a concern that she's stating, that she's worried that you haven't specifically been a township attorney? And if you have ever addressed that, how did you manage that?
Well, we normally have a team approach to all of our governmental bodies that we represent, just because if you have an issue that comes up in some court or in court or in negotiations or whatever, we have immediate access to several people who are fully versed or not. So, but we are, I mean, we want our clients to be comfortable with us, and we don't want, we don't want a situation where people are not comfortable with our qualifications. One of my most rewarding experiences that I had involving a township was when I came in to one township where there was a person who voted against us. He was not going to vote for us no matter what, and then the politics and dynamics of the board changed so that the people who really wanted us didn't want us there anymore. The guy who was against us was like our biggest advocate. I mean, that was kind of unusual. So, I mean, if we need to win people over, people who are actually very qualified professionals themselves, that's fine too. And I understand why people might want to process if they're feeling like that, hasn't been handled that way. But I also understand if you feel like there was a process and it's really your right to do that, but I think generally, the issue on this board is we need to figure out how to get everybody to kind of move forward and move together. But, I don't know, we don't know any of you, other than Jeff has worked with you on personnel policy annual. So, I don't know what it would take for people to be comfortable with us or to feel like, there's been a sufficient process. You will find other law firms that would be more expensive than us. You'll find law firms that are less expensive than us. You'll find law firms that are less experienced than us and lesser cost than us, and that could end up being more expensive because, we have 40 attorneys, and if you guys have questions on environmental issues, we have an environmental docket, zoning issues, we have a zoning, so it might not necessarily just be the three of us, if someone at our law firm can actually get your question answered more effectively and more efficiently. So, I guess where I'm stuck in advising you right now would be if you have a majority of the board that is not comfortable with this process, but you also have a supervisor who has the ability to make an appointment, who is comfortable, how do we get you what you need if she doesn't want to consider other alternatives?
Well, I haven't been given, and it's great if you're willing to mediate this. We did advise, and there's been no suggestion of any other person. So it's a little bit, and when I have worked with very comfortably and at such a great cost, I really, and it was very clear that was the special board meeting. You guys made yourselves available, and I very much appreciate that. And so, my vision of tonight was that you guys would ask them any questions you had. Not that you had a problem with the process, because I would expect you to have emailed me that. And I got nothing. And I don't know which of you raised your hand. Just who was first?
I'll just make a quick comment. I think it would have been helpful to tell us, which we had read, that you were a labor attorney, and we surmised that you had not had township represented. So that was one of the reasons that, I was concerned, as was Claire. So, it wasn't something that you had brought forward, which is why I thought, we owe it to ourselves to look at people that have been township attorneys.
I'm sorry, it's in the packet. Everybody's niche or specialty is in the qualifications, and I think you misunderstood. They have a team approach, just as my law firm does. We don't operate like Claire's law firm. I'm the partner of everything, but we have a team approach. So they hire me, that it's always known that Tim will go handle a certain date. Jeff, being a specialist in labor and employment, has been extraordinarily helpful in those issues, which were some of the most needed issues. And FOIA, two of our top areas. Again, I have had no suggestions by any of you as to any other. I know the vast array of attorneys out there who do municipal law, and I couldn't imagine, and I'm just being perfectly frank, what objection that anybody could have when prices are this reasonable to the quality of this team approach when you're getting the named equity partner who literally just said, "Would you change your schedule to come to the meeting?" You're also getting the associate who specializes in two of the biggest areas that we have pending issues. And the person whose qualifications and works on many township matters that you see in the packet. So it's also a matter of cost. And Carrie Lynn is too much. I mean, so, I'm sorry, Trustee Jones, did you have something? So I guess what I'm saying is I would far rather put it over a week, but at the same time, I really can't, this township cannot operate without an attorney. We have 2 FOIAs that are pending. One from the Better Government Association that is a very large FOIA and something that we comply with every year. But there's questions that I would ask. So the person who said they would make themselves available was Dan Dowd, and during the transition. And it seemed to me that this board would be happier if we had this special meeting, because we voted for the special meeting to appoint a new attorney, or to for me to appoint, and at your advice and consent. So we're sort of stuck. I don't know, where to go. I'm happy, Trustee Jones.
So are there specific questions you have for the attorneys? I mean, you're talking about qualifying attorneys, and yet you're not qualifying them. So are there specific questions that you need answered by these attorneys while they're here? They've been so courteous to give us their time. And, obviously you have a list of questions because you're contacting other attorneys, so what are you asking them? Maybe you should ask the attorneys that are before us tonight.
I think we need a process by which we participate in the drafting of that, not just coming from any one person.
Trustee McKim.
Just for clarification purposes, Ken, the reason why Susan has talked to other attorneys is that we are in the process of trying to find and engage an attorney to help us with the IMRF appeal. Of course.
So is that the reason you're objecting, because you intend to hire them for that? Is that the reason? And if we hire them, then you won't be able to? I mean, is that what's behind this tonight?
No, Kim.
Well, it's
no.
certainly.
I have not
it certainly
spoken
seems
to
like
anybody
it.
at Ansem Lake.
But is that your future
No.
intent? Because you want the best for that, and so you're gonna put the township.
Wait, time out. I have the floor, okay? And if that were true, I would welcome the township attorney to do the IMRF appeal. There's no conflict there. If there is, that's one of my questions.
Yeah.
Would you view that as a conflict? If there's an IMRF appeal that needs to be done, would you represent the majority of the board's resolution to appeal the decision?
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt, only because I don't know, and feel free to call them and present. I don't know how they can do an but that's an
No.
anticipatory, how do you,
Okay, can I frame it? So if any given...
I didn't,
You asked me to ask questions, Kim had asked me that. So if a board majority...
Trustee
was to
Sweeney,
vote-
you may ask questions.
Thank you. If a board majority were to vote and had been granted the right for an appeal, would you represent the board majority on that appeal?
The client is the whole township, and so the township board, the majority is what provides direction. And we've been in that instance many times before. Right now, we're involved in litigation with the Village of Lyle. The majority of the village board wants to proceed with, and the mayor does not want to. But that's, the board is the client, not any individual. So we would take direction on any issue, not just litigation, based on the direction of the majority of the board.
Okay, well, I hope you can appreciate that we were left high and dry and not represented as a board majority. We were not aware that things were going on behind our back. We were given the right to appeal
Trustee
only
Sweeney, I'm
after.
sorry.
I don't know any of the history.
I mean,
I'm
okay.
not familiar with what's
They
happening.
reinstated IMRF benefits against our knowledge. We did not certify them, just to make it simple.
Okay.
That was
So,
in August.
I have to-
This is an important thing because from my
But
perspective, it's the
That's
criteria.
not,
This is the whole thing.
it's
This is why
not,
they're not voting on them tonight.
I understand that. This is not appropriate. You cannot ask, it's sort of like
If you
ask,
dictate
I'm
what's
sorry.
appropriate, I'm a trustee, I don't.
No, what I'm saying is not appropriate is that it's sort of like asking a future judge how they're gonna rule
Okay.
on abortion.
You had asked me what I talked to, or Kim had, other attorneys about. This is one of the questions.
Right, but you guys had discussed and we gave full authority. We voted for you guys to hire another attorney. I am part of this board, so.
And
one of
then
the-
our
They haven't even
attorney,
read, I'm sorry, I'm fine. They haven't read the resolution. They have no idea that the resolution is condemning another person on the board who they also represent, whether the majority or not. So to ask the question in a vacuum is very unfair.
Voting majority.
every attorney I've talked to, it's, a hypothetical can be asked.
Well,
And so
sure.
as it pertains to whether it's this IMRF issue or another issue with the board majority, you take a loyalty oath, your position should be to represent the board majority. That's not what happened here.
But I said, if you wanted to ask them, that's why I
So,
said
but
this
when I
so
gave-
early. So that you could ask all these questions. I anticipated you would want to ask them in private or public, both. I mean, I really was not trying to do anything nefarious, anything underhanded. I am trying as expeditiously as possible to get our township representation. And
I understand.
so I really thought it was pretty clear in my email that you could call, email Jeff, Carrie Lynn, myself. I have nothing to hide. When I was saying that, it's very difficult to put two people on the spot about past issues that, first of all, I had no idea you guys didn't have a lawyer. And so, and I have no idea, I mean, there may be differences of opinion amongst us as to what constitutes a conflict. It has nothing to do with what Carrie Lynn just said, that, she represents the board, or, in her capacity as a township attorney, represents the board as a whole. Any township attorney is going to tell you that. I'm assuming everybody you've talked to that you don't want to give us the names of has also told you that. Am I right? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, in a week, will we be voting on this?
I mean, I'm looking to see proposals from other attorneys.
I don't.
Can I talk,
So
please?
is that?
I recognize Assessor Mullen.
First of all, the supervisor is the CEO of the township, and her decision takes a lot of weight. And right now, you're saying her decision basically sucks, which is just unrealistic. Where you guys are going to, and please don't talk about snarking, because I've seen the trustees snarking and rolling their eyes.
Just not happy with the language that you're
Please,
using on the board.
please, now
I'm
you
part
have
of this
interrupted
board.
me.
I'm
I
sorry.
have not spoken all
And I
night,
want you to
trustee.
use
I have not spoken all night,
language
trustee. Please,
As a board member.
please. I have been called not a board member before, which I really take offense to. But here's the deal. Here's what you're looking for. You're looking for an attorney that'll take the IMRF, and then you're going to suggest them, or him, the company, whatever, the firm, to be our lawyers here. Where these people have been on the board for Toy. They've been on the attorney board where you can ask questions and they give you a legitimate response. For me to come to another meeting here without an attorney, because there's a certain area of this room who does not follow policy and procedure, number one, and just don't read the manuals, didn't read Robert's rules. It's in, I watched the meetings, I've heard you say it. I want someone here with knowledge to get our meetings going and going on time, giving the right responses. You guys can hire our IMRF attorney. You don't have to give the deal where, okay, you're our IMRF attorney, now you can be our counsel. That's bullshit. Bullshit. You know what? And this stuff going on and on like this is crazy. This is what you do all the time. Don't even, please, I'm not done yet. You do this to our supervisor every friggin' meeting. This is unbelievable. And it shouldn't be tolerated. And you say that the residents should decide who the council will be. Well, you know what? You were voted to make that, help make that right decision. Obviously, you can't do it on your own. Because you don't go through, you're just not qualified yet. You're just not qualified yet. And I cannot tolerate what you do to the supervisor. It's unbelievable. And rolling your eyes, and Trustee Carabota have fallen asleep all the time. I mean, are you serious? Are you really serious?
Great.
Then quit rolling your eyes.
Okay,
I'm not rolling.
I'm done.
all right, so,
I can't come to a meeting if there's no attorney here because I cannot tolerate what goes on in these meetings.
I just want to correct that I've been misquoted, so I do not.
hang on. The things, every single person on this board needs the benefit of having an impartial, well thought of township attorney. I think that, frankly, we did an outstanding job. We're giving you the best there is. Someone impartial who has no preconceived notions about the issues. Frankly, I was amazed that they were willing and wanted to be considered as
That may change after tonight.
and that may change after tonight. And we need to have some unity. We can't continue like this. Trustee Cry is correct in several assertions that, and it's happened before with Clerk Gilamets, to wait until the night of a special meeting that was called for this very purpose of appointment, and then say, oh, we didn't know that it was going to be voted, is very, very disheartening to me in the attempt to move forward. I don't need rebuttal on this. Don't need further commentary on this. I really am somewhat stunned that Highway Commissioner Kazmerchuk's use of these people, as well as this board's use of these people, as well as the authorship and leadership throughout the state of Illinois of this firm at this low a price and their willingness to do this. I'm frankly stunned that the litmus test is apparently, will they take on the IMRF case?
That's mischaracterized. That's what,
I thought you
no, that's what Susie Mullen-Cry said. That's not what I said.
Okay. So, however, I believe you said you wanted to consider other people, but you don't tell us, you didn't send me anything about any other people to consider. So how would I psychically know that? And again, why? I didn't make the township law. Trust me, I didn't. And I am trying to come to a compromise. I am willing to put this off a week, but I don't want to get to April 24th and have the same thing. I mean, I really don't. This is a disservice to our residents. well, to get an extension on this FOIA, and we will have to put off a few other issues. There's an agenda item on April 24th with respect to personnel. There's agenda items tabled from the previous board meeting. I think this board knows exactly what's going to be on the agenda. I'm happy to send it to you early. And it's a very, very full agenda. So, if the point is that you want more public here, you know, I do agree that we are the elected representatives to pay. So, if it will further this along, I will table it, but I don't want to be in the same position on April 24th.
Motion's still on the table.
I know, but I need assurances that we'll vote on this on
We can
April
vote, we can
24th.
vote right now. What do we have? What are we doing? Just vote now.
I made my motion twice.
But Susan wants to vote to table it.
Well,
I'm
I
asking-
think Susan has a specific motion, with all due respect. You have a motion that's currently pending, though, that's blocking that motion.
No, I said, okay. Trustee Kerbota, please. Please. I just said, I am willing to withdraw
Oh,
or
okay.
table if I am assured that we will take this vote at the next board meeting.
So if the vote, the next board meeting is to go through a process to agree to an RFP or the like, maybe it's called something else. That's what I
Now,
want to say.
then you're gonna be voting it down, and then I have to go and find another person. Wouldn't it be a lot simpler if there is somebody else you want me to consider, to just tell me? This is, I'm not getting, and pardon me, hang on. Carrie, can you give us an advisory? You know, you're very good at the negotiations. She's not getting paid by the township for this. So, what would you advise in this situation? And if you have any, I know that's putting you on the spot.
Just a little.
But, I mean, I guess in the sense that, you know, I have to bring them an appointment time, but, so I'm asking, you know, are you giving me other names?
If I provide other names, or we can put it out to bid so that people could
No,
decide.
I'm not going to do that.
Can we consider
That's, we're not going, first of all, it's a professional service. We're not going out to bid. I'm not changing township law for your benefit. It's not going to be the case, and it will, I do not understand. If you want to give me other names, I'm certainly happy to, you know, talk to them, find out their qualifications, find out their proposals. If I can do that in a week, I'm not tabling this past another week. The trustee Jones.
Well, we asked Carrie Lynn if she wanted to. I'm interested, I'm curious. Are you willing to give us some
Guidance?
guidance or counsel tonight, or do you feel
Well,
comfortable?
I'll do the best
Or
that I
maybe you can
can.
clarify the law and how a township attorney is supposed to be appointed? Doesn't
Well-
seem to be clarity on that.
So here's the thing, I mean, anytime there's a question from the public body, there's two components of it. One is what the law is, right? And then the other is what the politics of it is, when you're advising a board like this, and we have a board that's divided, right? So we have a supervisor who wants to make an appointment. We have a board that wants input in the process, and the supervisor doesn't have to give the board input, and the board doesn't have to confirm the supervisor's appointment. So, I mean, somebody here has to compromise in some way. Okay, so either there needs to be a process that will satisfy at least one of the trustees, or two of the trustees to support what the supervisor says. Or, I mean, I've seen instances, like this before, where what the supervisor did then was just not appoint an attorney, and that was to the detriment of the township. I can't advise that that would occur. You know, so I guess my best advice in this situation, you know, first of all, we're not afraid to compete, okay? We are good at what we do, and our rates are competitive. So I'm fairly confident that if the board did go through whatever process they wanted to go through, whether that would be if they provide names for you to consider.
And that process I'm happy to do.
Right,
It's
so
just
I
that we
mean-
waited, you know, and we can't, it's the urgency. I really can't.
Right, but, I mean, you can do it on an expedite, you know, attorneys are vultures, you guys know that. They're
No,
vultures.
right,
They have
I mean, that's what I said.
Within 24 hours, they get
I
all these
totally am
reports.
with you. If I can get names, and I will absolutely do that in a week.
Yeah, but, I mean, the challenge for you then is you have the appointment power, you have to view with an open mind. You can't just say, but here, let me tell you, you guys don't know.
I
This
can't
is a
appoint
little
more
bit
than
weird.
one, sorry.
Yeah, but this is the other thing that's a little bit weird here. I mean, because we represent political boards, we're used to working with politicians. And normally what happens is one political faction will want us, and then the other political faction won't want us because the one faction wants us. What's a little weird here is we don't, I mean, the supervisor called us and said that she thought you guys wanted us, which is why she wanted us.
Yeah.
Which is, that's the only thing that's just a little bit stranger. So I don't even think necessarily she really wanted us. She was trying to, I think, effectuate a compromise. But that's what my best advice would be. It would be allow them to give you names or go through some process that would satisfy them, and then work together. Because whoever you guys pick, you all have to have some level of confidence with that law firm. So, you know, even if they just confirmed us tonight as a courtesy to you, they're not going to be comfortable with that, and it's not going to be the best thing for the township. So that would be my advice.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Can I just get clarification on the political piece that you mentioned? I just want to understand what you mean by that.
So normally when I represent political boards, I mean, they're not usually a whole board in one faction, right? I mean, so sometimes, so with townships, the supervisor has the ability to appoint the township attorney. With municipalities, it's the mayor that has the ability to appoint. And so sometimes what happens is, for example, you might have a mayor that wants to appoint an attorney that is going to give advice, that the mayor will think, okay, if I bring this law firm, they're going to owe me the duty of always giving me the advice that I want. And that's really not, you know, not how it works here. So sometimes what would happen with a township is they, like a supervisor will bring in a friend, or my cousin Vinny, who is their friend, who's just going to tell them what they want to hear, because the supervisor has the ability to appoint what they want. And, you know, sometimes they jam the appointments down the throats of the opposition, you know, the minority board. But here, the supervisor didn't come to us and say, I mean, sometimes we'll have supervisors that will come to us and will say, I have 3 votes, I can get you guys in, I don't care what the rest of, you know, what the other people think. This supervisor said, I have a divided board, I think my board really likes you, so I think that would be a good fit for this township because, you know, you're not, I met her at 6:30 when I walked into the work here. I mean, so this isn't a situation where I got a sense that, you know, she wanted us to come in because we're always going to do what she thinks we should say. I mean, where sometimes I get that feeling from people. So I'm just saying, that's what surprised me about this, because she came to us thinking this was what you guys wanted, and it is not. But maybe if the process is followed and you're satisfied, then everybody would be happy.
I think that's a perfect, I just don't know what to do in the interim, so that is.
Well, in the interim, I mean, I believe that Jeff is already labor council. If you guys had, you know, would you have an objection to in the next week, whatever you guys have, we'll just help with that to get through?
No objection.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, Trustee, Highway Commissioner.
Now, I think it's important what you said, that you represent the majority in a given issue. So that's your obligation as a lawyer and this type of work to represent the majority.
Which means if we're your township attorneys, we're probably going to tell all of you at some point or another something you don't want to hear. I mean, frankly.
Where are we with motions?
Okay, so here is what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to withdraw my appointment and table it until the April 24th board meeting. And with the understanding, starting tomorrow, that any names you want me to consider, and I may have to interview them at my law firm, or I do have court and a lot of medical testing, so it's a really bad week, and that's why I wish somebody had told me this. But I am willing, and Carrie Lynn's statement is 100% right. I really thought you guys would be thrilled, so I'm just stunned. But I am really in the interest of the township. I need a lawyer. So, if I withdraw, if we table it, or I change my motion to table it until April 24th, again, I will look forward to whatever email. You can call them, I'm assuming it's okay with them, and talk to them. And please send me names. And I'm actually really so grateful and amazed that they still want to even be in the running to be our township attorney. It's a challenge. So, does that sound acceptable before we go through the process here?
Yes.
I think we can send names, yes.
Okay. And I just want to caution you, I'm not going to be able to interview like 5 firms in a week. So, can you tell me tonight?
Laura, if I can,
Sure.
you put your treatment and all that, of course, about this is much more important. And I'm sure that your schedule definitely will be accommodated. But I wish you much success with that as well.
Well, thank you. So if you can tell me names and contact information tonight, that would be great.
Well, I think I'm going to be, I've been in the process of looking, so, it's not all on me.
Well,
It's,
So we'll do the best we can.
okay, so can we make sort of again, I'm really trying for some unity and compromise here. So can we, this is Tuesday, can we say by close of business tomorrow that, so that I can talk to,
I wouldn't want to see conditions on this at all. It's an understanding, we all have an understanding, we'll all do the best we can. I don't want any other conditions that kind of close the window, so.
well, I guess what I'm saying is if you send me somebody's name Sunday night, it's going to be difficult to trust each other.
I understand.
Also, should probably limit it to,
I don't want to.
Three?
2 or 3.
I don't want to, I don't want to limit.
so you're going to
Well, no,
send 20?
okay.
I mean,
I don't think right now they have any, so,
I don't control it.
well, what,
it's not,
what's a reasonable number?
it's a challenge because, normally if you're doing this, you have sort of a
I don't want
process by which you go through
Well, I
like
thought you
this.
But time is of the essence.
Email.
Yeah,
Time is of the essence, we
essence.
understand that.
Right.
Okay, so
And
can
that's
we
not
have
to
an
say we didn't
understanding?
consider somebody on as
I
we
like
did for the
it.
next
I like
week, have somebody be at our council
I
for
like
the
it.
next 2 weeks or 3 weeks if we needed to get the
More special
decision.
meetings?
And we do, it doesn't, I like Peter's, we understand it's a time of the essence, I like it.
I do too. I think we absolutely do need to aim for the next board meeting.
Go, do our best. I'll do my best. I'm sure
Because-
everybody will do their best.
Then I will be, then we'll be a la carte. And so do I have permission, I can use them on FOIA? So that we can get our FOIAs out in 5 days instead of,
You can motion and take a vote. I think that that's a good idea.
well, but you do understand that appointing an attorney, I am asking for, it's,
I'm saying on an interim basis, I think it's a good
On
idea.
a specific
but we've
matters.
already expressed that labor and personnel was good. So without the formal, it's not, this appointment, I was on the agenda, so under that heading is helping with FOIA, is that, I don't want to submit a bill that is going to be,
Do you want us to just answer?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to motion to table the appointment of the Maine Township Attorney until Tuesday, April 24th. For the regular board meeting, I will add that on the agenda, that I will be seeking to put that issue of my requested appointment back on the agenda. And with the understanding that other people that the board wishes me to consider will be email communicated, and they understand that time is of the essence. So, having that motion to table it with those specific points, do I have a second?
Second.
And something I'd like to add to that, and also with the agreement of this board that we can use this firm in the interim for personnel, labor, and FOIA issues. Can we make that part of the motion?
Yes.
Okay. And having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, could we call the roll?
Supervisor Moravsky.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Sweet.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you very much for coming.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate the council.
Yes, thank you.
Just note that my cousin Vinny is one of my favorites.
Are one or both of you able to be here next Tuesday?
I will check my calendar, I think so. I don't think I can.
That's assuming, of course, you're still interested in the position. All right, so we have one other item on the agenda, and that is I am requesting to go into closed session pursuant to the FOIA exemption that makes it permissible to do so for the sole purpose of the discussion of the performance and compensation of specific employees of Maine Township. So I'm asking for a motion.
Motion to go to closed session for sole purpose of discussion of performance and compensation of specific employees in Maine Township.
Yeah.
But before we go to closed session, we lost our former First Lady today. And
Oh,
at some
she died.
point tonight, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence and respect for our former First Lady, Barbara Bush. So, and when you think that's appropriate.
Okay, so I did not know she died.
It was right as we were walking in.
Wow. Wow, that's the end of this. And an error. And she always wore pearls. God, I hope this not all right, so, I will second Kim's motion. And having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'd like to call the roll on that and then have a moment of silence after, because I'm going to ask the board's permission to release the rest of the staff, as we've been doing, so that we can peek and handwrite the coming out of closed session. And this is 2 employees, so very quick. So, having no discussion, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moravsky.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Sweet.
Yes, because not contingent, but just specifying as I have before, that because we're talking about personnel issues and salary discussions will be out in the open, I'm agreeing to go to closed session.
That is correct, and that is also on the agenda. All right, so can we have a moment of silence now in honor of the former First Lady, Barbara Bush? going to, at this time, release our township stand. Thank you, Leisha, Dana, Jordan, and thank you, Donna, for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jennifer, for coming. And thank you, Carrie Lynn and Jeff for coming.